iPhone with no notches, a phone with 200 megapixel camera, and a phone by nothing. Seems interesting, isn't it? In this video, I'm going to talk about top 5 interesting and most awaited smartphones of 2022. Let's go. And keep a note that all the specification and all the in-depth details of each and every smartphone that I'm going to talk is based on the leaks on the internet. So keep that in mind. Number 1 on the list is a smartphone by Google. No, not the Pixel 7 or 7 Pro, but the Pixel 6a. Yes, you guys would have expected me to talk about the Pixel 7 and 7 Pro, but hey, more interesting than that is the Pixel 6a, and the reason for that is the chipset. It is going to have the Google Tensor chipset as same as the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro, which is going to be interesting. But you might think, hey, what will be the major cost cuttings if that's going to have the same chipset? Now let me talk about that. So Google keeping the same chipset is not a problem, and it's not going to cost them much. In terms of cost cutting, they will reduce the screen size, they will change the camera sensor, and that is what exactly I'm going to talk about, the screen, which is a 6.2-inch OLED panel. We don't know what refresh rate is going to come, but if it's going to have 90 Hz, then it's great. But if it's going to have only 60 Hz, then it will be weird. But hey, we don't know what Google has planned for us. And the most recent leak of the Pixel 6a is the leak of the retail box of the Pixel 6a. It doesn't have any specifications on the back or the front. It is a picture of the 6a's box from the front side. So we don't know anything on how it's going to look. We don't know whether this leak is real or not, but we can say that it's real for now. The major cost cuttings in the Pixel 6a will be in the camera sensors, yes, because the 6 and the 6 Pro had a 50 megapixel primary sensor, but whereas in the 6a it's expected to have a 12 megapixel primary sensor, so which is acceptable. And in terms of body or design, we don't know what kind of material they're going to use. We know how it's going to look. It's going to look exactly like the Pixel 6 and 6 Pro. But in terms of the material that they're going to use, we don't know whether it's plastic or not. But from the leaks, we can see that they are going to use the same glass sandwich design. So we don't know much about that. As far as the launch is concerned, we know Google I/O is going to happen on May 11th and 12th, and it is confirmed that Pixel 6a will be there on that event. So we don't know whether it will be there on 11th or 12th, but it's confirmed for now that it will be there in that event. And in terms of Indian launch, we don't know how it is going to be, whether it will launch globally first and then will be announced in India, or in the launch event it will be announced for India also. We don't know anything about that. Let's talk about the big fish in the room, price. Now when you talk about the Pixel 5a, it is right now available to buy at 449 USD, which is somewhere around 34,000 to 35,000 rupees. And we can expect Google to price the 6a at $499, which is somewhere around 37 to 38,000 rupees. So it is not much of a price when you see the American pricing, because we should not compare the American pricing with the Indian pricing, because it will be always more here. But if the 6a is going to come here in India, and if it's priced under 40,000, maybe 45,000, it's great. But if it's priced more than that, I don't think it will work out here in India. So fingers crossed, waiting for the 6a to come here in India and to sell under 45,000 rupees. The second smartphone on the list is Nothing Phone 1. And as the name suggests, I don't know anything about that. Well, jokes apart, but yes, it is true to a fact that no one knows nothing. Not only the brand, I'm also talking about the smartphone that's going to come from them. In the 27-minute keynote, we saw many things. They thanked many of the investors. They showed the Nothing Phone 1, a bunch of lines that they said Nothing Phone 1 is going to be. And after that 27-minute keynote, there were many renders which came in which looked like this. For sure, that's not going to be the design on how Nothing Phone 1 looks, but as of the spec sheet, we don't know anything, but it is confirmed that it's going to have a Snapdragon processor, because from the keynote, it was quite evident that Qualcomm Snapdragon was their partners. But we don't know whether it's going to have a flagship chipset like the 8 Gen 1, or we don't know whether it's going to have a mid-ranger. There are a set of people who talk about it having an 8 Gen 1, which is not possibly the case. But if it's going to have an 8 Gen 1 and if it's going to be a flagship phone, then I think it must be priced under 50,000 rupees. Now, when it comes to pricing, whatever price I say is very, very aggressive, but if that is priced that way, then I think it will sell here in India more than what OnePlus is selling right now. So I don't think the Nothing Phone 1 will sport a flagship processor. Instead, the most believed rumor is it will be a mid-range smartphone with a Snapdragon 700 series chipset. Fingers crossed on the smartphone. We don't know anything about Nothing. So yeah, what do you guys think about Nothing Phone 1? Comment down your opinion in the comment section below. Number 3 on the list is the Mi 12 lineup. Now, to be honest, after seeing B-Bomb's test on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, I completely lost interest on the Mi 12 series. But the reason why I included that is because of its Indian launch that's going to happen in April. And I'm not excited for the 12 or 12 Pro, but instead, another model which is speculated to launch here in India, which is the Mi 12 Lite or the Mi 12X. Now in the European market, it's costing around 650 euros, which is somewhere around 50,000 rupees, which is huge for a smartphone with the Snapdragon 870. But if you take Mi 12's previous lineup, which is the Mi 11 lineup, in which the 11X with the same Snapdragon 870 chipset costing around 27,000 rupees on Amazon, it's now even available. So if Mi 12X is going to come here in India and if it's priced somewhere around 35,000, even 40,000 rupees, I think it makes sense. So yeah, I'm interested in that smartphone and that is what makes me excited. Now the Mi 12X has the Snapdragon 870. It has a 4500 mAh battery. It has a 67 watt of fast charging capability from the global spec sheet that we saw. So yeah, fingers crossed that it will launch here in India for somewhere around 35,000 to 40,000 rupees. So I'm waiting for that. Most awaited smartphone of 2022, hands down, is going to be iPhones this year. And the first and foremost leak that I think is going to happen is the chipset change, because it is expected that the 14 model will have the A15, the same chipset as the previous year iPhones, and the 14 Pro models will have A16, the latest chipset. And not only that, the most shocking news from Apple is that they are going to discontinue the mini lineup. Yes, so this year we won't be able to see the 14 minis. Instead, there will be only 14 and 14 Pro and Pro Maxes. So yes, there's going to be more differentiation than any year between the 14 and the 14 Pro model. So that's going to be the thing. And in terms of cameras, yes, there will be also a change in terms of camera specs between the regular model and the Pro model. So the Pro models will have a 48 megapixel sensor according to the leaks that we saw online. There was a schematic leaked by 9to5Mac in which it showed the more protrusion of cameras in the 14 Pro model. So that's because of the larger sensor that it's going to have. So these are some of the things about the upcoming iPhones this year, and fingers crossed, I'm waiting for those. The last and final smartphone, and one of my personal favorites, is nothing but Motorola Frontier, a smartphone with 200 megapixel camera, with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus chipset and 144 Hz of refresh rate. On the front, it has a 60 megapixel camera, and I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy in terms of spec sheet. 200 megapixel camera on the back, and the worst part, it's going to have a 60 megapixel camera on the front. I don't know how that smartphone is going to handle. We don't know what's going to happen. 8 Gen 1 Plus, we already know the performance of 8 Gen 1. It's heating like anything. The CPU throttling is more on all the smartphones. In terms of the display, it is going to have a 6.7-inch TOLED panel with 144 Hz of refresh rate. You all know that the Motorola Edge 30 Pro was a smartphone by Motorola which had the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and it was priced somewhere around 45,000 rupees, which was the lowest price for an 8 Gen 1 device. And in India, it didn't do well because it didn't have a good camera or a good design. But in terms of performance, yes, it did really well. Yeah, I'm really confused on how this smartphone is going to pan out. 200 megapixel camera on the back, 60 megapixel on the front, a 6.7-inch POLED display with 144 Hz, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus. I mean, lot of promises, but I don't know what Motorola is going to deliver. Fingers crossed. I don't know what's the price also going to be. If it's priced somewhere under 65,000 rupees, it's going to be really great. But if it's priced more, like 70 or 80,000, I don't think it will make a good sound here in Indian market. So yeah, fingers crossed, waiting for the Motorola Frontier. So there you have it. These are the 5 most awaited smartphones of 2022. And which is your favorite smartphone on the list? Comment down your opinion in the comment section below. And as always, a like and sub to this channel would be absolutely great. And hey, for getting notified for the future video, just press the bell icon. This is Arnav signing off from the video. Until the next one, stay home, stay safe, take care, and bye.